Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Adjemi in Connecticut and Daniel Adjemi in Colorado.
So Tony and Sarah came in to talk with me as Tony was getting ready to retire. And retirement is a time that can cause a lot of stress because usually people, they only retire once, hopefully, if it's done right. And they've never done it before, and it can be quite disconcerting. So with that, Tony and Sarah came in. We looked at the retirement plan. We put together a plan for them. A year later, we got together again to do a review. And in that process, I was able to look closer at their wills that they had, and they were outdated. A lot of things changed, right? Their finances has changed, their relationships changed, just a lot of different things had changed over that period of time. And I encouraged them, listen, you guys, need to get updated wills. And we put them in touch with an attorney that would be able to take care of that for them. And they got that rectified. And particularly important in this case, because Sarah had been married previously. And Sarah had a piece of property that was in her name that the neighbor of that property wanted to buy. And if she had died without the proper will, well, Tony would have been in a heap of trouble from that standpoint and had to spend a lot of time in probate taking care of that. Well, the unfortunate thing happened, as we said, bad things happen to good people. Sarah passed away. But the good news is that Sarah and Tony had done their wills, and Sarah's will said that this piece of property would go to Tony. Tony was able to inherit it, sell it to the neighbor. It was nice and clean, simple for Tony. He missed his wife, Sarah, terribly, but with that then was able to change his finances to, since then, just have all the money that he needs to be able to live the rest of his life and not run out of money. I'm Andrew Adjemi.
And I'm Daniel Adjemi, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Our topic today is Widows and Orphans. That story, it really hits the point about how important it is that people work with someone who can look at the full situation to advise on making sure you have the proper documents, whether that be trusts or wills, power of attorneys, and look at the finances, and also how that all relates to the tax situation as well. Because in a lot of people's cases, depending the stage of life they're at, there is ways where they can take money out of their taxable accounts and put it into tax-free accounts without paying taxes or very little taxes, because when people go see their tax professionals, it's usually just doing a tax return, not planning towards the future, right? Because they're just busy. They want to get it done, as opposed to taking the time to say, look, your bracket's this big. You could take out this much more money and then not go into the next bracket, right?
Yeah. And it fits a lot of different areas. And, the thing that I would like to bring up to our audience at this point is that when we're talking about widows and orphans and making sure that everybody is taken care of in the good times or in the bad times, you need to be able to have the proper people, as you said, Daniel, to be able to look at what's going on, the paperwork, the finances, investments. People typically in, whether they're a widower, like in the example of my client Tony that I just told the example of, or in the case of a widow, typically people are needing income. So they need to make sure that they're investing their money for income, because income keeps coming in, even if they don't need it. But if they do need it, they're still making money on that and can be a tremendous asset to them. So it's important to make sure that the investments are set up properly, that you have the right people helping you to set those investments up properly.
Right. A lot of people who have not retired yet, they talk about how great growth investing is. This is so wonderful. This is so great, because they are able to benefit from volatility, right? Because they're
Hmm.
working and they're saving
Right.
in their 401ks and they're watching this stuff grow. And when you see markets come down, that's a buying opportunity. Now, they don't think about it that way.
Right.
Most people don't. They
Right.
just are like, wow, look at how this is growing. But no one complains, right? When people are blessed enough or lucky enough to change models, right?
Yeah.
They it clicks in their head and they change to the dividend, they change to the income model.
Yeah.
They're enamored because they're
Yeah.
watching this money come into their accounts, and
Yeah.
those growth people are like, why isn't this working like it used to work for me, right?
Right.
The point is to have your portfolio set up for the stage of life that
Yeah.
you're in.
Right.
Yeah, and most financial people miss that. They just buy the same types of things, these bond funds or these growth funds, and diversify you instead of understanding that you still can earn interest and dividends and you still can benefit from volatility, even if you are close to retirement, especially, right? Or if
Right.
you're in retirement. But because rates are so low, it's a difficult thing to do. And unless you spend, in your case, decades, right, of time learning how to do these things, um, then there's nothing special there. And
Right.
retirement should be special.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what these widows in particular need, and orphans is income. Income to be able to because a lot of times they retire or semi-retire when they become widows from that angle. And I wanted to remind our listeners that you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. Today's topic is widows and orphans. And the piece that we're giving away with today's show to go along with it is 10 estate planning mistakes to avoid. 10 estate planning mistakes to avoid. Ask Megan for the estate planning piece by calling 800 725 7616. 800 725 7616. Well, Daniel, the other aspects that people need to be aware of is, finding somebody to be able to help them either plan before they become widows or orphans, or if you are a widow orphan, making sure that you have a fiduciary, right? Somebody who is a fiduciary that's going to act in your best interest. And the problem so many times that comes into play is that people will say, yeah, I'm a fiduciary. But the question is, who are you a fiduciary for? I mean, there are some people out there that are fiduciaries for the stockholders of the companies they work for rather than for the account holders for their clients, or primarily for the stockholders and then their clients secondarily, or people that won't put it in writing. And that's key, is being able to put it in writing, sign off on it so that they can legally be held accountable for their actions from that standpoint. Then, you know, uh, what are some of the other aspects in your mind, Daniel, that people should be looking for when they're looking for somebody to be able to help them plan and prepare for these things that could happen to them?
So people talk about goal based all the time. And sometimes people even have you fill out a little questionnaire. But there's two types of things that people deal with, right? There's actual risk, like quantitative risk, and then there's emotional risk.
Right.
And they try to figure out that emotional risk. Um, but you can start a whole nother way, right? And you can look at, what do I want to achieve, right? If you were building a business, this is how you would look at it. You wouldn't say,
Right.
let me fill out this questionnaire to see, right? You would look at what the goal was. I want to build this product. I want to change the world. I want to put 1 million songs on this little tiny device that I can carry around in my pocket, and then build towards that, right?
Right. Right.
So that's what we're talking about today for protecting for the widows and orphans. What do I want? Where do I want my kids to go to college? What do I want my spouse to be able to do? How much income do I want them to be able to have if something terrible happened to me? And so see if they're having you fill out a stupid little risk questionnaire, or if they're looking at the big picture. What is it that you want to achieve, right?
Right.
For whatever stage of life it is. And then what tools do they have? What
Right.
experience do they have in helping you build that, right? What's the
Exactly.
resume?
Yeah.
Um,
Do they
are
have
they
decades
buying
of experience, or are they just, like a flash in the pan? They've had, maybe several years.
and what type of experience, right?
Right.
What type of
Right.
experience? Because you could have I'm probably going to get this wrong as I say it. You could have 1 year of 20 years experience, or you could have 20 years and 1 year of experience.
Right.
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 And
Right.
so it depends on what that education level is, what your goals, priorities is, what's their hobbies, right? Is their
Right.
hobbies making you money? Is their hobbies watching out for your benefit? Or is you know, you coming in supporting their lifestyle and they're just interested in collecting that paycheck? Those are the things you got to watch out for. Ask the questions, ask the tough questions. What are you making after inflation? How do they measure inflation, right?
All right. All right.
And if you find yourself advising your advisor, taking the concepts that we're talking about, especially, or other things you hear, you're taking what you hear on the news and you're bringing it to your advisor saying, we need to make these changes, then you got a problem.
Right, right, right. Some of those things to be looking for as well are, do they have the same investment philosophy as you? Are they a match from the philosophical standpoint, as well as, if you're needing income, you need an income specialist. I mean, if you had a heart issue, you wouldn't go to the podiatrist to help you with your heart issue. So you need to go to an income specialist if you need income. So these are all great things. And I see that we're fast coming to a close for today's show. And you've been listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. Today's topic has been widows and orphans. We're glad to have had you with us today. We're giving away a couple pieces. The first estate planning piece is 10 estate planning mistakes to avoid. It's only a 2-3 page article that will be able to help you to be able to plan and prepare better for that. 10 estate planning mistakes. Ask for it by name, Estate Planning Guide, when you call Megan at 800-725-7616. And we have the book, Specially Designed Life Insurance Contracts by John Moriarty. And I'd like to be able to get your thoughts on that. And you can call at 800-725-7616 for that easy read book to be able to give you a different perspective on insurance that's other than your father's insurance, so to speak. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And we look forward to catching up with you next time at Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi.